Adam Boehler standing by, founder and CEO of Rubicon Founders, an entrepreneur in the healthcare profession, but he was all part of the Abraham Accords, former negotiator with the Doha Agreement, with the Taliban and all that stuff. Adam, your thoughts about this ceasefire, which is supposed to last, 60 days, that has the IDF out of Lebanon, Lebanese army in control, and hopefully get the Israelis back in the northern part of their country. About 60,000 have been forced to evacuate.
You know, I like the agreement, Brian. I like the concept of it because it lets Israel focus its resources on Iran, on the situation in Gaza, and getting our Americans back home. That's a good thing.
If we can get our Americans back home out of Gaza, that's going to be the key. Hamas has never had the IDF has never been able to focus on Gaza because within one day of the October 7th attack, they've been getting shelled by Hezbollah, and who knows what Iran was up to. This is different now.
It's different also. I mean, look, it's no, one of the questions, and I saw President Biden announcing it yesterday, and one of the reporters as he was going out said, "Sir, what's different this time?" And I couldn't really hear his response. But I'll tell you what went through my head is what's different is who was just elected president of the United States. And you're seeing some really good things come out of it because they'd love to – they don't want to deal and they want to show flexibility to President Trump before he comes in. And interestingly enough, he comes in 54 days. So right under the 60 days, there's a reason for that too.
So here's what Michael Herzog said, the Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Cut 5.
We believe that the ceasefire deal with Lebanon will apply a lot of pressure on Hamas. Hamas has been really betting on regional escalation, Israel being dragged to a long war with Hezbollah and a war with Iran. And now that we have a ceasefire in Lebanon in place and Iran is deterred, we hope that Hamas will reach a conclusion that time is not on its side and will ultimately agree to do a hostage deal. That is our focus right now.
Adam, what do you hear about the hostages? We got 7 Americans there. We hear there's under 50 alive. But do you think is there any one person with control of them all, or are they all with different terror groups?
I believe their setup is a combination of things. I think some are Hamas. You've got some that are with jihad. And then you have some, just like the Israeli soldiers that found in that unbelievable operation where they freed a number of hostages, they're in private homes because I don't think all of them are in tunnels. And so you probably have a situation of the 7. Man, I hope to God that all 7 are alive. I won't tell you that I think that's the case. I hope that's the case. But they're in different places. And but we can still get half of them back for sure.
How much stronger would your hand be right now dealing with Iran, being that their missile defense has been blown up, their radar has been eliminated from Syria and Iraq, and now we understand part of their nuclear program's destroyed. And now you see Hezbollah and Hamas no longer watching their back. How much stronger would your hand be in negotiations?
Super strong. I mean, you're in a situation right now where, and this is my belief, is the next steps for Israel, for the United States, are to make sure that we get the hostages back and then that we eliminate, if we can, the nuclear facilities, all of them from Iran. And then, quite frankly, this is what will happen because there aren't just American hostages, as everybody knows here. There's American hostages all over the world, and people will understand that we come for our people. We come for our boys and girls that are out there, and that will serve as a deterrent in the first place in taking them.
Yeah, well, I guess we're going to see what's going to happen shortly because the other added advantage is the Iranian people hate their government as much as we do. And it was pointed out to me yesterday by H.R. McMaster is that they would have reports, he would probably be subject to them too, of all the protests, the anti-Ayatollah protests in Iran when the maximum pressure campaign was on. And they protest money that they have coming to them that was going to Hezbollah and Hamas that was drying up. Do you concur with those reports?
I concur with them 100%. Well, and I also concur with the opinion that the Iranian people are, I mean, just look at the pictures post-revolution and some of these things and what happened. So, and think about the Persians that are in the United States. I mean, it's a group of people that were forced to come out. It's like first-generation Cubans or first-generation in any culture, Jews, Italians, Irish. They're great people. And the most important thing, and people don't always understand this about Abraham Accords, but people don't, or let me use another example. Why did Arab people say, why would Arab or Muslim people vote for President Trump? I understand completely, because President Trump is against terror. That's why he's against Iran. He's not against Muslims or Jews or Christians or anyone, actually. He actually is for a situation where we have a safe world. And I do believe that, and I hope for the Iranians, ultimately they have their destiny in their hands, but we can certainly make sure that the situation is set up well. And they're great people.
So this is interesting because for a legacy, Biden says, I want to get that. He never calls it the Abraham Accords that you guys, you would think he would embrace it. He doesn't call it that. He goes, I want to get an agreement with Saudi Arabia to push peace in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia says, well, you got to get some type of plan in the middle with the Palestinians before I do that. And then they want in return a security guarantee. So if they're attacked, we would attack with them against the enemy, which I think brings a lot of strings in the Middle East. The Houthi rebels were attacking Saudi Arabia. We told them stop doing it, and we're taking the Houthi rebels off the terror watch list. That's how the Biden administration started. Now they want to end it with signing a mutual defense agreement. Should we? And he says it'll get 67 votes in the Senate. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, he's got not enough time left, and it sounds to me like I'm sorry to say this because I think he's a nice person. It sounds to me like an old man trying to cement some sort of legacy. Unfortunately, it's too much, too little. And I heard him compliment Israel for being bold yesterday. It's interesting because if it were up to the administration, they asked Israel every single time not to do what they did. They were upset when Israel took out Nasrallah, and they were upset they weren't informed when Israel did its operation against Hezbollah. They were upset when they went into Lebanon. They were upset and didn't want them to react at all after October 7th. And if they had listened, if Israel listened, which usually they do because the United States is the big dog, right? If Israel had listened to everything that the administration had said, we would really be there would be a big issue. And so I just, it's too much too late. And he's getting the benefit of the fact that the Americans elected President Trump. And so you're seeing the change. You're seeing Qatar throughout Hamas right after the election. That's kind of funny timing. This happened. Hamas just said today they're willing to enter into a ceasefire with no preconditions.
Did not see that. Where was that?
Yeah, that just happened today. I saw a report on, I think it's on CNN, that today that, and they said we would never do it. They said they would be open to it, and they would start to discuss exchange. And before there was no way that was going to happen. So things are changing. You may have seen China just released 3 Americans.
I did see that. Yep.
Yes.
And they said they were wrongfully detained. So
yeah.
Ted Cruz kind of echoes you. He says this: the Biden administration has spent the last 4 years pathologically obsessed with undermining Israel and boosting Iran, including by coercing our Israel allies to cede maritime territory to Hezbollah. They're now using the transition period of the Trump administration and a Republican Congress to try to lock in those efforts and to constrain the incoming administration by establishing what they believe is irreversible diplomatic, legal, and military policies. I'm sure they're going to stop short of that. The slow walking of weapons is real. It was mentioned by Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday in his remarks because he knows in 54 days that's going to end. Adam, you still there?
I'm there. Listen, I think that, there's 54 days. And the world is watching, right? So the Taliban have American hostages now. And if the Taliban are watching, because they are, then they'll know that President Trump is coming. And President Trump isn't interested in tit for tat with the Taliban. He's interested in getting Americans home. So all of these things are tied, just like they were before, just like our disaster of a withdrawal from Afghanistan led to Putin seeing the weakness, him moving, led to Hamas deciding, Iran deciding to push. All of them are very connected. Now what's happening is, because we are going to focus on strength, already just that knowledge is starting to assemble, because President Trump's actually going to be credible in that. And when he was tested, he killed the number 2 guy in Iran. So that they know they don't want to test this president because they know what happens. And now all of these things are going to disassemble that for 4 years were created and maintained.
I hear you. And lastly, when you look at what's happening with the Ukraine right now, you see 2 countries now contributing to Russian forces where they should have a ton of reinforcements. They seem to be running out of people, but desperate to get more land. Where do you think this is heading by the time Trump takes over?
I think that there needs to be something. This can't be a forever war. And I think that there needs to be a deal there. There needs to be something that stops it. It can't be a forever. So many people are dying on both sides. I think with Trump coming, Putin knows that this has got to stop. And I do, people say, oh, it's going to be deal of the century, and President Trump has his flair in what he says. But what I have noticed when I work for him, Abraham Accords, all these things, he said at the beginning, there'll be a historic peace in the Middle East, in a way that only he can. And everybody, they downplay it because he says big things, but then it happens. And so I do think what you'll see is you'll see some resolution to that conflict, which can't last forever.
Adam Boehler, it's an exciting time. There's an opportunity, but sometimes you have to have war in order to get peace. That's what Israel's showing us right now, sadly. I wish it was a different world, but it isn't. Adam, thank you.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.